Well, hello and welcome viewers to etcfo.com. Today, etcfo.com in association with Clear is organizing a beautiful fireside chat on why the real-time data and processes are so crucial to strategic CFOs. For this, we are joined by Dev Tripathi, who is Director of Finance at Philips India, and Sumit Kavaria, who is Enterprise Finance and Business Head at Clear. Hi, Sumit and Dev. Hi.
Hi, Manu.
Hey, hi Manu, good afternoon.
Great. So let me begin this conversation and chat, so to say, with you. Today we are seeing finance is a function of forecasting. We do a lot of forecasting there. So what do you think has compelled the CFOs toward the real-time data? If you could share your initial thoughts and we take them specifically, yeah.
Sure, Manu. So if I understand you correctly, what you see is that finance traditionally has worked on historical trends. Okay, and now what has compelled us or pushed us to draw charts from real-time data. So to explain this, let me give you three perspectives. Okay, one can be the regulator's point of view. Okay, when I say regulators, it is maybe the tax guys, be it income tax, be it GST. Okay, all the regulators. The second point of view is from can be from the investors or the bankers' point of view. Okay, and the third perspective can be from a customer point of view. Okay, so now moving to the first point of view, that is the regulators. What the regulators are doing, if you see, a lot of finance or the money is stuck in whether it is GST credit. Okay, various whether we would like to always know that, okay, whether my vendors have deposited the tax or not on time. Okay, and when it comes to income tax, so the guys know the department would like to see that when one entity is showing as an expenditure, whether the other entity is showing it as an income or not. Okay, the regulators are also interested to know that, okay, when one sister concern in India is showing something as an capital expenditure, the other entity in US, the related party in the US, whether they are showing it as an revenue income or an OPEX operating income for them. Okay, so now these are the things where the regulators would like to see, and what can be the consequence? The consequence can be, if it is not managed on a real-time basis, the consequences can be that, okay, you lose a lot of money in terms of GST, you land up in a lot of compliance issues. Yeah. Now move to the second category or second point of view of investors or the bankers or the financiers. Every quarter, we give a financial results, correct? And in case there is any significant change to your forecast, you may have to give a profit warning. Okay, and when you do all these things within a quarter, it is you're doing normal business also, and all these things needs a lot of simulations. And how do you do simulations? These simulations has to happen from external real-time data along with your internal data, correct? And I think from a banker point of view, or where there are a lot of assets and underlying rights been given to secure some finances, those finances, how frequently we can do a humanly not possible to do a what you can say impairment testing every now and then. Okay, and now and then, when I say, okay, it was not required earlier, but now with this so many changes happening in the external parameters, external world, the asset value or the rights value can go up or down at any moment of time. Okay, and what can be a scenario? Yes, think about a scenario where a financier needs to take a haircut. Okay, and now you think what can happen to your credit rating. Okay, now move to the third point of view of a customer. What a customer needs? A customer needs the right product at the right price at the right place. Now, if we don't know where a customer is going and where he is accessing to get his product or the services, we will be ending up with a huge inventory in a wrong place. Yeah, and think about all the discussions what happens in the social media. Perception gets built in seconds. So unless somebody really addresses on time all the discussions what's happening on a social media platform, then you can see that okay, what can happen to the brand value of an organization, and all these things impacts finance. Correct? None of these things you can say that finance is immune to. Now, in all these perspectives, what I shared, what is common in them? The only common in them is that the wafer thin tolerance towards towards surprise. So today nobody likes to have a surprise, neither the regulators, no, nor your investors, nor your customers. Yeah. So now the challenges with historical data is historical data cannot, nor historical trends cannot meet these expectations of today's day, because before history repeats again, we this is a generation which is seeing many of the things for the first time, be it GST, be it demonetization, be it the social media platforms, or be it COVID. Okay, none of these things we have seen. For the second time, there is a boom which again went down and again it is coming back. It's not like that. So now, how do you avoid surprise? The only way to avoid surprise is that okay, you built up an analytics platform, which is built on or the input to this platform is real time data, okay, and which gives you enough insights that at least you can preempt. You cannot avoid the 100%, you cannot predict 100% what's going to happen. At least you can substantially reduce it when you move to a real-time data analytics.
Okay, I must say that is a very comprehensive overview that you have given, explaining through each facets, regulator, customer, and of course the financial, Dave. So let me quickly have a quick view of Sumit also, in terms of uh, able to mitigate the surprises with so-called real-time data, as Dave is saying. How is your sense? Are the finance enterprises, the enterprise finance environments ready to operate with the real-time data, or is there a need for data transformation?
See, they've explained very well the need of the real-time data. But very frankly, like when we meet our customer and understand from my colleagues or like my peer CFOs, like the biggest challenge, like a data systems, like in bigger organizations are silos. Like every function have their own data system and there's no single source of truth of data. And that's become a biggest challenge for CFO because every system talk about data. I just give you example, like in big companies, like they have multiple warehouses, multiple factories, there are multiple silo system is been installed at a different time as a business requirement. But now, like the current scenario is like where government is operating on the real time data. Government have connected all their system, like whether you see TDS, GST, income tax, everything is interconnected. But enterprise systems are still not connected because they are not in the same format. It's not like everyone or all the BUs are operating with the same ERP system. No, that's not there because every BU has been built at different point of time, and that was whatever was the need has been deployed at that time. So these silos, first of all, needs to break and to be get ready. So very frankly, if you ask me, still like enterprises are not ready for a real-time data. They're trying to get it by bringing a lot of middleware, bringing a data from multiple sources to one place, but still like there's not a very few organization is able to achieve that transformation where they have a single source of truth for all the reporting. Otherwise every team struggle and start from zero to report any numbers. At least that's experience when I meet with my colleague CFOs. So that's why it's still like teams or companies are not yet ready. They're but they understand the importance of that, and what they've told, it's perfectly acknowledged by all the CFOs. This is the need of the hour, and future is that real-time data and single source of truth. It's very important.
You mentioned that they're in a journey, sort of say, and they're not yet ready. They and you also, of course, Sumit, you pointed out the challenge of data deluge, so to say. So they, I would quickly, pick it from what Sumit has already raised. Uh, especially in terms of data deluge. How as a CFO you deal with the data deluge, and as you said, you mitigate these surprises, so to say, at your level with real-time data. So if you could also share how much of the real-time data that is accessible to you, because 100% of course one can't have it. So in your operating metrics, how much data do you have real time?
In this situation, yes, this is a challenge. Okay, so dealing with data deluge, is a nightmare for CFOs. Okay, from a data deficit phase, we are getting into a place where it is too much data with us. Correct. But there are few ways, where how we can manage the situation a bit effectively. And what normally I feel, to Sumit's point, that there are so many data sitting on different platforms, doesn't talk to each other, not integrated. So one thing is that we need to have our aspirations or the priorities or the goals set very clearly, so that at least okay, that okay, my challenges are like this, and the data is sitting in this places. So my expectation is very clearly is this, which is aligned to my organization's goal. Yeah. So setting priority is one thing. The second one is that okay, you also need that. This is the finance guys, the CFOs who are not free earlier also, that they are today also, they are equally occupied in the day-to-day activities of bookkeeping and many other stuff, what they used to be busy earlier also. So how you take out some more time to manage, you have to make some automation, take out some time, so that at least you can invest in real-time data analytics. Yeah. There can be one more correction or one more things which can really help to overcome this data deluge, is that the data governance piece. Okay, that okay, I would like to see the customer piece from my, what comes from my distributor management system or Salesforce, my inventory data from what comes from my warehouse management, and my ERP system. So okay, these are the three things, and the data governance is properly set for these three sources. Okay, something like that we need to establish. The last, which is quite important, is that a change in culture. Okay, you need to foster the behavior of a data driven organization. Okay, so everybody, people should not use their intuition or experience always to give and use data. So that helps, that it is not only your view or your vision, it is the majority of the organization vision, is that okay, to make sure that the data is rightly available, correctly accurate data is available. Okay, so that's what I feel, is that something can help to manage this data deluge.
Okay, well, that's a very important point that you raised, from alignment of the goals to the change in culture, of course. Sumit, we are talking about the challenges. Of course, you mentioned in your starting note about the data deluge. But what is your sense of the entire challenges related to this transformation to real time data? And also, how do the fintech firms like yours uh, reduce the burden of CFOs like them?
So, two things, right? What they've told, right? It's the one thing which can make this problem solve is the cultural change, mindset change. If you see India tech system or finance system, 3 year back, it was not important ki warehouse team talk with finance team talk with AR team talk with tech team. It was not important. Once in a while, if they talk, it's good enough. But if you see now GST, it's like a last 5 years, it's interconnected. Means warehouse team cannot ship a material unless until e-way bill raised, right HSN is there, tax rate is there, and same time when they are getting the invoices from a vendor, they can't take a credit if it's not reached on real time or correctly, and they can't make the payment. So the cultural shift and mindset is important. Everyone start taking the decision based on the data. And the challenges what they are facing is like a silo system, because AP team is work on different system, tax team on different system. I just give you one example, a small example, which I think they will be able to feel every month, right? Today, you understand, a government allow the tax credit in as per 2B, means your GST input tax credit is only allowed if it's reflecting your 2B. 2B is a GST government system, right? So input tax credit is allowed, even though you have a valid invoice, you will not be able to take the credit if it's not reflecting in your GSTR 2B. What happened, like invoice is been processed by APT. They don't know whether this is reflecting in 2B or not. Tax team have a credential of the GST system, means they know what is credit is available. And AP team, while making the payment, they has to know whether this credit is reflecting or not. Otherwise, they will make a payment to the vendor without getting the input tax credit. So there are three parties involved. Procurement is involved because their vendor is following up with them. Hey, I not got my payment. AP team needs to get a clearance from the tax team. Hey, whether credit is available in 2B or not. Can I release the tax to the vendor or not? The problem what they were saying, the vendor compliance is now a burden for the enterprises, and that's where they need a real-time visibility key, whether it's compliant or not. And same thing is should not be just available with text, it should be available with APT also, because they are processing the payment. If these data are not available real time, what will happen? Either APT will make the payment first without blocking the ITC, and then tax team when filing their 3P, they will say, hey, this vendor have not done the compliance, means they will have a working capital impact. Maybe the next month they will get a credit, or they may not get the credit if vendor not done their filing. So that's finally impact the working capital. So that's why like a real-time data became important, and reactive approach is not helping anyone of any of the organization. And considering this point, like a fintech company like ClearTex, we like very frankly, like we also built a multiple system in silos, because GST came at one point of time, e-way bill came one point of time, e-invoice came one point of time. But after 4 years of journey, we realized that, hey, the silo system is not right way, because this can't give a single source of truth, and the compliance will be a nightmare for every enterprises. And that's why we created a new ecosystem called Clear Finance Cloud, where what we have done, we have like brought all the internal teams on the single platform. Like internal alignment of team can be done driven by the CFOs, but if system is not a single and common system, it's very difficult to operate day to day. It can happen once in a while, but day to day it's very difficult. So what we have done, we have made a single common platform which have a like entire procurement team, entire AP team, tax team, every team have access of the same platform and same data source. Not only that, like what we have done, we have connected this platform on the upstream side and downstream side with the vendor ecosystem as well as customer ecosystem. So they also have a real-time visibility of their compliance. So just give you an example, like suppose one vendor upload an invoice, he can see real-time whether this invoice has got processed or not, and it get matched with the tax credit, whether tax credit is reflecting in the 2B or not. If it's not, the vendor also get a message, hey, your return filing status is not accurate or updated. Please correct it, else your payment will not get processed. So the communication between all the three party, AP, tax, and vendor, it's happening real time. And that solves the problem, because reactive approach, like where tax team tell the AP team, then AP team tell the vendor, or procurement team call the vendor and say, hey, you have not done the filing due to which you are not getting payment. It's derail the process. And then vendor become unhappy and a lot of consequences happen. So that's why like ClearTex brought like a fintech being a fintech company, we brought that platform where we can bring all the ecosystem partner at one place, external and as well as internal, and everyone have a same visibility, whatever each other are able to process seamlessly. So that's the innovation. I believe that will help most of the enterprises to resolve this big real-time data expectation.
Okay. Well, Sumit, very heartening to hear about the solutions that the fintech firms like yours are providing to reduce the surprises, which they has already sort of stressed in the beginning. But Dave, I quickly wanted to know about, certainly we're discussing the topic of challenges here, but just like Sumit has just mentioned about, the risk associated with not having real-time data could lead to loss in working capital, reduction in working capital, or that could go for a toss. Working capital could go for a toss for the businesses. So, what is your assessment in case one does not transform onto that platform of real-time data wherever it's available? And second is, if you can also just broadly tell us about how challenging this has been for you, from the journey has been from you to adapt this real-time data environment for making strategic decisions as a CFO.
So digital transformation, Manu, if you'll ask me whether it is a option available, I think, or a choice available, I don't think it is anymore a choice. whether you can opt for it or you don't opt for it. Because any organization, if you see today, we see that okay, earlier it was 10 people doing X number of work. Now it is 10% lesser, 15%, 20%, 30% lesser number of people expected to do 3x amount of work. Okay, so that is no more something which is a fancy word, whether you would like to get in there or it's okay if you don't get in there. See, there is, and it's not about any one function of finance, right? It is across finance function. If you see, whether it is a traditional bookkeeper or it is a tax team or treasury team or it is the business finance guys, everybody has to adapt to the new the new way of working. You can say that okay, whether you have to embrace the technology. Okay, so okay, I'm not saying that okay, no, beyond robotic process automation or no, a natural language processing, no, there are so many technology you can choose. Okay, which level you are basis the maturity, and you can get in there. Now, how it's not easy. Frankly speaking, our, as I said that okay, this is the generation which is going through, and I think we are the guys, we are getting into the first level. We are facing it for the first time. Correct? So how to adapt? People ask me. The interesting thing which works for me is, I maybe it may be different from different people. I feel that how you create your team, how you create your work atmosphere. So normally what I follow is that I always hire the most smarter guy in my team always. So who really creates a challenge, okay, and who really helps you push. Because by nature we are not somebody who would always go to bring something new. So when a very talented new youngster comes to your team from a very different industry, that sometimes helps to adapt. Okay, and the second thing what always pushes you to adapt is the challenges. If there is no challenges, I don't think you will be sitting here and discussing about this transformation, correct? So these things, I feel that it works for most of the people.
Okay, that's again very heartening to hear the change resistance or the culture you setting it right from yourself. Bringing smarter people to test you and push you, and that's very heartening to hear, Dave. Sumit, I will come to you again. You already walked through in terms of how the fintech firms aid by aligning systems across in processing data real time. But if you could share more examples, from your conversations, discussions with CFOs, in terms of like how the compliance process overall and strategic decisions can be made easier for CFOs.
See, I just like input tax credit was one of the example, but I take one more example where what they were mentioning also, like a data-led decision making. And as everyone understands, like in tax and compliances, the cost of compliance, if we do like if we not follow the right method, it can be very costly. So just give you example, like a company, a big corporate, like normally work in more than like 10 to 15 states, means every place they have to take a GST registration. And like when they do a planning of procurement, so and the sales process also happen from multiple locations. So input tax credit become very important. Like in which state, how much tax credit you have as an inflow and how much outflow you have in different state. So that if you have a real-time data available, you can plan your entire procurement. Ki, hey, in which state I should do a right procurement and how I can utilize my input credit. Else, what will happen, right? In one GST and one state, you will have a lot of input credit piled up, and in other state, you are paying from your pocket. Means it will become a working capital mismanagement. So that's where like a real-time data availability of a multiple GST and at a multiple so many companies have a multiple organizations, so multiple GST. How get that real-time understanding of across the board? Second example, like what Mr. Dev, right? Intercompany transaction. It's very important now. Government is seeing the data in real time and trying to connect the data from one point to other point. So means like a one company is shown the sales, whether other is showing as a purchase or not. It's very important. If any system which not like transform or check real time ki, hey, I have shown the sales of 100 rupees, other have shown the purchase of 100 or not. If not, then it will raise a red flag, and then you have to explain the government, hey, why there's a mismatch. The third or important example which most of the organizations are facing, like a e-invoice. Right now, e-invoice, like government have made the change key. Now e-invoice, earlier there was no timeline to raise the e-invoice. Company used to raise in 30 days, 40 days or 90 days. Now government have made within 7 days you have to make sure like e-invoice has been raised. If someone not have a real-time visibility ki, hey, against which invoice e-invoice has been generated, not generated, how many e-way bill is generated against me, all those data, if they not have a real-time visibility, they will get a surprise one day by notice from government authority, because they have all this data, and based on data analytics these days all the notices get issued out. So because there will be mismatch of the purchase or sales which will raise a red flag, and then we have to do a reconciliation and explain the authority, say why there is a mismatch. So like that, there are multiple examples, and almost Manu, very frankly, any compliance now without real time, it's almost like impossible. And it's like those days gone away when you used to do a reconciliation once in a while or once in a year. Now it's almost real time or next month. You can't avoid beyond a month.
Just to add on to Sumit, Manu, what Sumit said. So those days were there, when we used to file income tax return or any return, sales tax return in a piece of paper, and it used to go there, and then from the file, after n number of months, somebody can take out and do an assessment and seek data from the suppliers by sending a letter. Okay, the letter is to go in a courier and it has to come back with some data may come or some follow-up has to happen. Now those days are gone.
Correct.
You file it online and the data is available from the other guys, that is also in a digital format, it is available, so that if I'm showing a receivable from somebody, whether the other person is showing as a payable in his in his balance sheet, those things are visible to the regulators. Okay, so the time has shrunk actually. So the 8, 10, 12, 15 months of normal time what the assessing officers is to take, that has shrunk now.
That's like best example, income tax return. Now today when you file your income tax return, you will get to know a lot of transactions which you are not remembering even, hey, whether I have done this investment, whether I have done this buy sale of a asset, everything, whether you remember or not, you will get to know that day. And that's a different experience this time when we had with our customer and understood from them. They were shocked. Hey, when I got this dividend, I am not aware. When I did this transaction, they are not aware. So the real-time data is becoming the it's not optional as what they've told, right? It's a mandate now.
It's not optional, it's mandate, as Dev and Sumit both mentioned. But Dev, I want to just sort of wider topic here. If you see if you see finance as a function, what specific functions of the finance they are always they are evolving as always current processes that need real-time data, and as all functions of finance may not be having real-time data, it's difficult to have 100% real data. So if you could also tell us in which specific areas you can still do without real-time data, or you just cannot have access to that real-time data.
Okay, let's broadly split the finance functions. And if you'll ask me how the finance function can be split into three.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that, okay, one can be very specific, that is accounting function, okay, where you can say that, okay, all record to report, procurement to payment, okay, all these people can come together, and they spend a significant of contribution of them goes into the statutory financials in an organization. Okay, the second category of people can be a treasury or a tax team, whose significant time goes in creating a tax P&L. Okay, and the third category of a group or team, you can say, which is a business finance or FP&A group. Yeah, so that, and they are responsible for management P&L. So P&L. So now, if you see any organization, there is minimum these three P&Ls more or less works. Okay, there is a fiscal statutory P&L, then there will be a tax P&L, and then there is a management P&L. Now, if you see the first category, that is the accounting team, a lot of their time used to go in repetitive jobs of bookkeeping, and those activities they have already given to a significant value or significant extent. It is managed by the RPAs, okay, or been outsourced. Okay, so now where this team spends a lot of time is, with all recent news, you can see there is a significant time goes in zooming out your real-time data in accounting, that whether there should not be a huge gap between the substance and the form. Yeah.
Yes.
A significant time of them also goes in detection of fraud, or ensuring that okay, we are first and right. Okay, now if you go to the second category of people, no, the tax team, they always try to help the business to avoid committing some mistake, so that when they deal with historical data to file a return, so that there is no such huge burden of tax liability or tax non-compliance. Yeah.
Correct.
Whereas they deal with a lot of data in terms of when they manage transfer price, or a treasury guy when they manage the execute the hedging policy. Those are very much real-time data. Now, the third category of people, if you'll see the business finance or the FP&A guys, they know day in, day out, they work with various functions who are mostly non-finance people, the sales, the supply chain, all these things. And they really are day to day, are aware of the market, the outside affairs, how's the forecast is done, how are we performing against those forecasts. There are various scenario building. Many times they place non-financial data against the financial data and try to bring some insights which are actually exciting to see sometimes. Okay, so now among all these three guys, you can see that they all use real-time data and analytics. Okay, okay, if you'll say who is the maximum, yes, I'll say that okay, the maybe the in my view, the business finance guys or the FP&A, they deal with a lot of financial data which is very much real time, because they have to create an alert that if I'm not going to meet my forecast, okay, if my inventory is piling on somewhere else, and there is another set of another place where the customer is returning empty handed saying that okay, there is no inventory available. Okay, what inventory is available with me or in production plan, versus what is the where is the trend going from the customer side. Okay, so this is how I feel that the third category spends more or utilizes more on real time data, but the other two categories of accounting and the tax guys, they are also not very much far off. So I feel that okay, more or less it is 30-30 and 70% of the time. That's how you can distribute how much time the teams spend on real time data.
Okay. Well, you have articulated so beautifully, Dev. I think I mean, that was so articulate. Sumit, you want to add on your comments in terms of how, because you day in day out talk with CFOs, business leaders, tax leaders, and bookkeeping leaders, so across functions. So, what is your view? Do you want to add on to what they say?
See, like I think they have covered up most of the things, and it's very important. Like in these days, the ecosystem environment is so dynamic. Like the prediction and the what next or action oriented data graphs or data charts or data analytics is very important. Just having information is not enough. Like what next? If this is the data, what's the action required? What step needs to be taken? It should be very clear. And that's where like multiple functions, like whether business finance, whether it's tax team, whether it's finance team, like now use data in different way. And like I think they have comprehensively covered that.
Okay, Dev, I will go specific here. I'm really curious to know your some insights, especially on the business and finance side, because that's where the strategic CFO's role comes. Mostly we discussed the examples mostly pertaining to the tax and the bookkeeping, where Sumit walked us through. But if you could just share your examples in terms of the real-time data access and how you use in your journey to make strategic decisions. Do any examples come to your mind?
There are a lot of things, as I mentioned, that simple that okay, we prepare an annual operating plan in the beginning, okay, and all the organizations make an annual operating plan, okay, and every quarter we go and do a course correction and make it like a quarterly rolling forecast, okay. But these are historical and static data. So what has happened is that, okay, after that, what happens in the market, and things are not changing just because we have made a annual operating plan 6 months back, or 8 months back, correct? So the market realities are changing every now and then. So we need to keep it in mind that, okay, how my cost components, my manufacturing, my raw materials are changing, the availability is changing. uh, for example, I can give one example. And all these things, how's my interest rates scenario is changing, how my supply ecosystem is changing. These things really impacts our annual operating plan or rolling forecast. Just to give an example, you know never we have realized that, okay, most of our machine, no, one of our machine, you can say, which needs a natural gas, okay. And this gas is actually imported from two places, Russia and from Middle East. Now nowhere we realize that, okay, any scarcity of this gas ever. And I'm from an industry where we are into detection and therapy of disease, correct? Suddenly for the first time we realize that, okay, if that gas doesn't come, then all these machines of thousands of machines will may not work, and it's a real difficult scenario to get into. Now what happens, once this scarcity comes in, then the pricing actually fourfolds, it goes up.
Correct.
Then for the first time we realize that, okay, your contracts with the customers are not made to charge for this increased cost.
Yeah, that's a different headache.
Yeah, that's a different issue altogether. So now you have a commitment to the customer, there is a cost which has incurred, and there is no way you can leverage, okay, there is nothing which comes to your support. So now what happens actually, when you have a real-time data, if you built up, it gives you real agility to come or predict bit earlier, okay, because your systems are now no more, your ERP system can be linked to a complete world, correct? It is not restricted only to your organization, your room, your laptop only. So somebody knows that, okay, if it is my bomb, and the system can also see that, okay, if this bill of material, how the trends are going on in the external world, okay, because I am dealing with thousands of bill of materials. I may not focus on what's happening each of them, but a system can do it. So this brings a lot of agility. A real-time data brings a lot of agility. That's for sure.
It's a very great example. Like, I think the impact and the benefit of real-time analysis and how the predictability can help, or it's really a good example. Like,
another good thing is that how fast you make decisions, correct? So today what happens actually, you would have seen recently that, okay, you slip with a video, and morning you see that the entire product vanishes from all the shelves, okay. So that fast the market also is working nowadays. So now your decision making has to be really fast. So you cannot make a decision so fast unless you have a visibility towards the data, correct? So while doing these two things, I also feel that, okay, whether how much you need to rely also on the data. It should not be too much that, okay, we look into only data, and in search of those data you delay many of the decision making, and you ignore your intuition or your experience. So can be a balanced approach, but that helps, Manu.
Okay, that's very important points you made, Dave. I'm glad that you really dig down and shared this very important example with our audience. Sumit, I will come to you for the last part of this conversation chat, which is about the learnings. If you could share, the learnings that you fintech guys have from your good discussions with the CFOs in terms of how they can leverage the alignment of the systems that you guys do across, as you walked us through, make the task easy for them. What should they do more to make the entire process of decision making using real time smoother?
See, like I will just try to summarize like this question like what you have asked. Like we have discussed in different point of time in during this session. So if I can see like there are five things comes out in my mind like which a CFO should take care or like when I discuss them how they do the decision making, they first try to do the testing on those parameters. First, like hey, like these days now silo system will not work. How we make our system connected ecosystem. It may be internal ecosystem, it can be external, like what Mr. Dev was saying, the pricing data point, the supply demand part. So there can be multiple system which should connect and talk with each other at real time. Silo system is not a way we can do a right decision making. Yeah, I agree, like 100% on data depends is difficult, but yeah, that's a need of ASCII. Connected system is very important where multiple teams and upstream and downstream customer or vendor or like the ecosystem related data also how we sync with our system. The second thing, CFOs needs to see now cohesive system. Like just building up a great system for internal team is not good enough. If we not give a good enough system or ecosystem for our ecosystem like a vendor or partner, their non-compliance or non-adherence of the compliance is going to impact the enterprises. The way government is changing the rules and regulation, most of the time now enterprise needs to ensure like their partners are being compliant. So the cohesive system is very important now while taking the decision ki, hey, the system what I am adopting is it cohesive, whether my partner can take a participation or can connect with this system or not. That's become important. The third and important thing, if like it's a data like the consumption of data, it's a single source of truth. Because when you are reporting the data at a different point of time to different partners or different statutory authority, whether the single same data source are we using to report it, else it's going to be become a non-compliance, and the like then we have to give a lot of clarification to authorities for the differences, or a lot of reconciliation will come in picture. And the fourth and important thing, which now it's like a our entire process operating model now should like our any system whatever we adopt, whether it is ERP, whether any value-added service software, those should be get aligned with the operating system. If it doesn't get aligned, then adoption become a challenge for any CFO. So any system which CFO subscribe, they see whether it's getting aligned with the operating system of the company or not. That's become very important for adoption. And the last and important thing is the right tech partner, because these days the as the I can put up the reasons against that, but it's become very important. The right tech partner who's a tech first rather than service first is very important for CFOs, because there are three reasons, right? The business expected growth are now is not like a linear, the way earlier business used to go by 5%, 10%, 20%. That's not a case. The expectation of investors are 100%, 200%, 500% growth, or any business can get a spike anytime. So you have to be have a like systems or partners who help you during that spike time and handle your data and system and processes. The second thing, the government, the changes the way government is making is almost real time. Like if recently like government just announced for e-invoice real time and just given a 15 days time, hey enterprises please adopt it. So if your systems and partners are not that tech first, very frankly, like still I believe like a table 4 came almost 6 months back, still many enterprises are not able to adopt it completely in this sprint, because their system doesn't help them or automate that process. So if your system is not that agile, it's become a challenge, because government or any ecosystem have so many I can say like volatility in the term of the decision making. Things everyone wants a real time, decide today in 15 days, 20 days needs to adopt. Those days goes where we used to get a year time to implement anything, and then every time is used to get postponed. That's almost stopped. And the last and important thing is that now CFO needs to be future ready. They cannot just think how to solve the today's problem. They have to predict like next 3 or 5 year what all challenges, what's the volume growth, what's going to be there, what kind of a challenge in term. If the predictability is not good and your systems are not ready for that, then you will get struggle, or your system will become a bottleneck for a business growth, which is not acceptable to anyone. So these are the things which I, when I discuss with my CFO friends and my ecosystem partners, these things comes out how they take the decision making, or what all points they consider while doing the decision.
Absolutely, Sumit. I think you really raise a right point that for the first time, I think we all are facing that where the industry is trying to catch up with the speed of the government.
That's true.
So it was always used to be the other way actually, that okay, we used to be in computers and the government used to be in hard copies, the papers. Now actually it's just the reverse.
That's and the way government is want more and more transparency and connected system for ease of business. So it's a first, like I can say initial it's a pain, but I feel like every one of us will get benefited out of that because the credit system are becoming much more easier. The cost of credit, business cost, it's reducing by that way, and it's help us to grow faster. So it's a initial hurdles and pain. I believe with the time we will adopt that, and then things will be smooth.
Dave, you already, sort of added your comments, but specifically, I want to just know from you in terms of the changes that the government is bringing, the pace and the agility the government is showing, and likewise, you guys are like the industry is now catching up using a produce box like Clears. So if you could just, tell us and also, share your advice as well as learning, so to say, for the finance folks who are struggling with real-time data, with with either change management or being able to be agile, what will be your message to those finance folks across those functions, be it bookkeeping, tax, or business and finance, strategic mode? What will be your advice from your own mistakes or sort of learnings from your own past? Beautiful, rich past.
So Manu, one thing is that where most of the finance guys we always which we have not done good so far is that we always accept the constraints. Okay. Rather than that, no, I believe that okay, once you create a crisis, the right crisis that helps. So the right crisis can be that okay, we need to automate XYZ process. We need to integrate XYZ systems together. And why is it? It is not that because today I take 7 days to consolidate for a tax filing. No, it's that okay, how can I make it to 1 day? So we need to really create the right crisis so that every level in the organization they listens to this one, and this is an investment, and this investment is nothing for growth or anything, it is for sustainability. Once you sustain, then we'll grow. Okay. And the consequence is very high. The consequences is something which you cannot, we cannot, none of the business can manage. Okay. So that's why first is the right crisis. Take the right people along with you, stakeholder management, and the right skill set. These are things which you should keep it in your mind that okay, which are the stakeholders? Not that okay, you need to go around the organization and try to convince everyone, but the right person we need to convince, and you need to keep the right skill sets with you who can really work with you to make this transition into this world of digitization and automation. Yeah. And the what you can say, the last thing what you can say is that a ROI always can be defined. Okay. Every investment or this spends really brings a lot of effectiveness in your expenditures. Okay. So it's no more finance is a cost center. If somebody can say that okay, if finance is any more a cost center, I say that okay, finance is a person, is a function which helps the business to survive, okay, and sustain. And as I said earlier, once you sustain, then you can see growth and profitability and rest of the things.
Okay, that is actually very well summarized and concluded. I don't have any sort of summary to sort of make from the conversation. So, do you have any points to add before we wrap up?
No, I think like they summarizes very well. Like for finance now, like all those things are mandatory, and like it's finance is not more like cost center. They are a business enabler. Like I always say, finance always needs to be seen like a business enabler, and every person in finance should think like how I can enable the business. And same thing, business should expect from finance ki, hey, whatever they are doing is to enable the business, not to block the business.
Okay, so that's I think where we should end using to borrow from Dave. Dave's words in the beginning, which is about surprises and mitigating surprises through processing and using more and more of real-time data to make strategic decisions, especially And of course, there do remain challenges of working in silos. But once you have the mindset and the alignment of the goals ready, you can overcome any challenge whatsoever. And the last and the very important is the need to be agility, a need to make quick decisions in the wake of very fast moving business environment. So these are the beautiful learnings, beautiful insights from the very rich leaders, enterprise business head and finance leader at Clear Sumit, as well as Dave Tripathi, who is director of finance at Philips India. So thank you to both of you again, gentlemen, and we look forward to more such engaging, beautiful discussions and insights, and also expect audience to continue enjoy these discussions, these beautiful discussions, and stay tuned to ETCFO for more such engaging discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you, Manu. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Sumit.